Hello and welcome to week 3 of UABC's Tea Room. My name is Shirley and I'm the current president of the Badminton Club, and I will be your host for this week's podcast, which will be talking about the origins of the club and how it has transitioned over the years. So with me today we have a few past exec members and long-term members of the club, some of who still play at the club and some of them don't, but all of them were witnesses to the transformation of the club, and we will learn a little bit more about that today. So just to start off, I would like to introduce our guests one by one. So let's start off with whoever's been at the club longest, and then we can go down from there. So I think that might be Logan?
Logan?
Yeah, Logan.
Logan. Yay. Go, Logan.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Logan Galbraith. I joined the club back in 2006, I think. So, but I've been a part of the club for about 12 or 13 years, depending on how you count it, because I had a time when I was away in between 2011 and 2013 that I did do some volunteer coaching with the club before.
Excellent. Thank you, Logan. So next we have Jesse and Amy.
I joined the club in 2007, and I've been a member on and off since then because I wasn't always in Edmonton, and I was president in 2012, 2013.
I'm Jesse. I joined the club in 2008. Still a current member for now. I think I've missed 2 semesters due to injury. I was the GSO from 2013 till 2016, or would it be 2012 till 2016? In that range, somewhere in that range.
Excellent. And then next, thank you for that. And then next we have Jane, I think.
Oh no, Tim had totally joined before me.
Oh, never mind. Tim.
Yeah.
Tim first.
No, that's okay. I can't be the forgotten one. I get it.
You're
okay,
so
hello
important.
everybody. Hi everybody, my name is Tim. So I joined Badminton Club when in my first year back in 2010, and I've been an active member until 2019. I guess I served as a VP, Vice President, in 2014 and 2015, and I served as a president in the year of 2018 and 2019. And I don't think I'm a member right now because I'm all the way back in Calgary, but I would love to.
And we kicked you out because you left Edmonton. I'm just
Yes,
kidding.
that's right. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. And then last but not least, we also have Jane today.
Hi, my name is Jane Trainer, and I first joined the club in 2012, I think, and then I was a member until 2017. I was the events coordinator in 2013, but that was a late addition that has a little bit of a story behind it, so I guess I could go into that later.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was president from 2014 through to the spring of 2016. And then I was a general member from 2016 in the fall to 2017 in the spring. And I'm no longer, unfortunately, able to attend club sessions because I don't live in Edmonton anymore, but I try to come back and visit when I can.
Thanks for that, Jane. So, all right, so that's everyone that's here with us today, and I just want to start off by thanking all of you guys for making time for our participating in our club's podcast. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, do any of you guys know when exactly the club was formed? Like what year?
Before I started.
Was Jean Ma the president when you first joined?
I think she was the second president after I joined.
Okay, I thought she was one of the founding members.
Yeah, I thought she was the founder.
Or she might have been, maybe she was president when I joined, and maybe someone else came in after her. I can't remember exactly. I know that MC I was talking to MC, he said he joined in 2004. So at least going back that far.
So what was the club first like when they started? Like what did they have in place? Well, when you first started, I guess, since you are the longest standing member, Logan.
Yeah, no, it was it's hard to remember back that far. That's a lot of years ago. But no, it was still a great me invited there by Aaron Perkins, who I had met playing in the U of A singles ladder. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of the things that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't have the card system back then. We just wrote our names on the blackboard.
Oh.
We didn't even have cards, and to show membership, they had us tie a bead on our shoestring or a tag on our shoestring. So we've got lots of improvements since then. They did still do the year-end dinner, but it has definitely grown since those years.
Mm-hmm. Do any of you know when the card system kind of came into place then?
That was created by Jesse MC. Aaron Perkins was the president when I first joined in.
Mm-hmm.
Like Logan said, back then the sign-up system, when I joined in, they didn't have anything to do with the shoes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of an honor system where they drew a big grid on the chalkboard, and then you would write 4 names down in each of those square, and then as they were done, they would just erase the names. As for the year-end dinner,
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, back then it was still just Boston pizza every single time.
It was Boston pizza every year. Yeah.
And it was only for fall and winter, because we didn't run spring and summer.
Yeah.
There was also only Friday sessions from 7 till 9, I believe, during that time.
Yeah, we've added a lot of extra days.
Yeah, that seems pretty crazy, and a lot of events too. So speaking of from your guys' different experiences, what are the biggest changes that you've kind of seen happen over the years?
There's more events and tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I think
there's
more people.
Sorry.
The addition of the card system was a huge one for easier.
Yeah, I feel like that would definitely make things a lot easier, and it just makes it a lot more fluid. And the honor system works too, but I find that sometimes people can forget sometimes as well, and it's hard to kind of keep track of everyone who's kind of going on, and it's easy to run out of space on a chalkboard. So I'm really glad they actually brought in the card system.
Yeah, I was talking to MC about that the other day. I guess we think it was put in place around 2010 or 2011, and yeah, I thought the MC was the one who made it, but I guess he was the one who designed it, and his mom actually sewed it. Is the one who put it together. That card system has been pretty great for the club.
The badminton club moms have done that card system well, because I remember maybe it was in my second year of being an exec. The felt had started falling off the rollout things. So they came back to my house over one of the breaks, and my mom also fixed the felt. So.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's very strong support system for the badminton club. Dang.
Moms are the
Not just
best.
from the member, but also from the member's parents.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A whole community.
Yes.
So you're saying we shouldn't have too much trouble if the board decide to fall apart, and then we could possibly find someone to fix it, hopefully.
Yeah, ask whose mom sews, and I'm sure somebody will be able to help.
Or I'm sure somebody picked up the sewing hobby along this period of isolation. So there must be more
totally.
people now.
Definitely.
Sorry, Tim, you were going to say something before about something?
Oh, I was saying how many more prizes that we give out. It's crazy. Starting from when I first joined back in 2010, I think our only social gathering that I remembered was us going to the bowling alley. That was really fun. But now we have so many events that ties to badminton as a sport, and the fact that we actually reward those of who actually came, and not just about the skill level. I think that's very important.
Are you talking about the check-in system that you were able to implement during your presidency?
Oh, no, not just that. I wanted to mention about how just the participants of tournaments, they don't have to win the tournament to win anything. So, and that's what I mean. And back then, yeah, like door prizes, the draw prizes, definitely.
So you guys never used to have that before?
I don't think so. At least not that many.
Didn't Jesse? Didn't you propose the Gatorade draw? Didn't you?
That was So the Gatorade draw, I think we originally wanted it to be an attempt at fundraising, because it was like the price of the entries versus the price of a bag. But prior to that, the earliest presidents that I know, they mostly had drawings as the way to distribute prizes, but they were only ever available at the year-end tournament.
Yeah, that's right.
The original tournaments had a system where everyone would get a card from a deck of cards. We didn't have enough people that a deck of cards would run out. Anyways, if you won a match with someone, you could choose to trade cards with them as the winner. And at the end of the night, it was either all the aces or all the aces and jokers would get to pick a prize, and then the rest would be randomly drawn from another deck in order to select the prize draws. That was used until MC was president, I think.
That card system that Jesse's describing, yeah, I remember that. That was way back when. And actually, I still use the same system for distributing prizes among the coaching I do. That we hold. So keep the tradition alive.
Yes.
Just because we're talking about different, I guess we're referring to different years according to who was president that year. Do you want me to run through the list that I have? I only have as far back as Peter Wong, but I can give the name of the president and the corresponding year that they started, so that would be the fall term.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Peter Wong was president 2012 to 2010.
Okay.
To 2011.
2010, yeah.
Yeah, and then Jesse MC was 2011. Amy was 2012. Peter Tran was 2013. I was 2014 and 2015. Felicia was 2016. Teresa was 2017. Tim was 2018. And then Shirley, it's been you since then.
I love that list, and I think the thing I like most about that list too is how diverse it is in terms of having like both females and male presidency. Just because for me, when I was growing up, I don't know if this was like the same for you guys, like it just seemed like there was a lot of boys that were always a lot more interested in badminton than girls and stuff like that. So it's nice to kind of see a nice balance on there.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was really cool being part of a club with Amy being president. It was like, sweet. She could run this. I can run this.
Yeah. I think I had that same sentiment too when I knew that you, Jane, ran for 2 years and then you were able to make a lot of changes. And that was one thing too that I kind of looked on and I was like, well, like I'm still going to be here and there's still a lot of stuff that I wanted to kind of do. And then like how you felt Amy seeing like the first female, and then I saw you running for 2 years and I was like, oh, like that could be something that I could technically do. And that kind of brought me here today. So I just hope that we can kind of carry this type of legacy on for other future females who decide that whether or not they want to run for club and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. So when we're talking about all the different changes that kind of happened over the years, I know that I feel like some of you guys can relate to the sentiment that there could be a lot of challenges that kind of come up from trying to implement changes, just because it is hard to implement changes especially with a large group of people, because you'll always have a side that does want the change and then the side that doesn't really want the change. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you guys had to face when you were implementing any changes? Or when you were, I guess in your perspective, Logan, even like when you were coaching or when you were on the receiving end of like change, like what were some of the challenges?
I think this is probably a better question for the past presidents.
I guess so.
How they dealt with any potential dissent, but
I mean, I think Logan, I think you can put in your input as a member instead of like from us as executives, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's also valuable.
I agree. I think it's important to have both exec and member perspectives in terms of trying to adapt to any changes as well. So.
Sorry, Logan, your deflection just got cut off there.
You're being ganged up on.
I tried. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I can't remember too many cases where there's been major opposition to changes. I think there's been a couple times, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
There's a handful of things. I wouldn't necessarily call them opposition or dissent against it, but it's just hard to transition for a few things. So the first one that I can remember for sure is getting participants out whenever we changed or added new days or hours. So there's been times where we've had Wednesdays, there's been times when we've had Thursdays, and then we've had like Saturdays and Sundays, and it shifted around a bit. But the core of Badminton Club has always just been around the Friday, and generally I feel the Friday works pretty well. But depending on what the other days and times were, when I would set up, when we did have, say, Wednesdays or Thursdays, there were times where we might have less than 12 people show up for it, which after we fight so hard to, get gym time or bookings from Campus Rec, to only have that many people show up, those were a little discouraging.
That's true. I remember Saturday mornings being like that too when I was first a member, and we had like the 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturdays, and then we would try to have more hours just to kind of spread out playtime for people, but it was hard to kind of figure out what people wanted and how to get people to come out.
This isn't I guess it's not a change that like the members opposed. Actually, the members were probably felt quite strongly about this, but I think it's the same with you guys, especially those Friday sessions. There's like such a need for space because it's so popular, which is good. It means that people are getting out, they're getting active, they're finding it's a social event for a lot of people, like they have a community within the badminton club. But like education gym is not a huge gym, and there's only 7 courts, right? And I know that was at one point, I think it was actually an E19 or whatever E19 is called now, the one in the Van Vliet, which only has 4 courts. So like education is definitely a step up from that space-wise. But there's only one more gym that has badminton lines in it on campus that could accommodate more people, and that was main gym. And that had 2 major issues, one being varsity owns it and like doesn't want to let it go, and the other one being that the lines, you could not see the lines. And I don't know, Shirley, if you were around when the lines were not yet painted, but those were kind of our big 2 issues stopping us from moving into that. And it took a couple of generations of a lot of dedicated execs to kind of vie for painting the lines in main gym. And I mean, like, for anybody who doesn't know, so like any new badminton club members coming in, to show how bad those lines used to be, when we were in there for tournaments, we used to have to take the green painter's tape and tape over the lines so that you could see them. And one day we were like unraveling the tape at the end of the tournament, and some person walked by and gasped, and they're like, "Oh no, what are you going to do about the tape residue?" And we're like, "What?" And they're like, "Look, the tape, it's left a mark." And I was like, I'm sorry to tell you, but that's actually the line. That's how it's painted. That's how light the color was. And some person just thought it was like leftover tape remains. That was kind of one of our big wins for the club, was actually getting those lines painted. Although I know it can be hard to get the greater university administrative structures to move on that point and actually allow more club sessions in that great space, now that we had fought so hard to get that updated.
Those lines were a very nice shade of beige that was just a little bit off from the wood.
So close.
I remember the first time I think I was there, like right before you guys or before the execs kind of transitioned to painting the lines. I remember seeing the tape on the ground, and I was like, what is this, like, ghetto? Is U of A poor? Because it was like the first time I went to U of A, and I was like, they can't afford to paint their lines. I was like so tripped out from it, because I was like, they're literally like ripping this off the ground, and it was so weird. But yeah, I definitely am. I feel like everyone's grateful that they did paint the lines in the main gym. So in terms of that, and like I know you were talking about like the spacing wise, and especially right now with the COVID issue and in terms of social distancing, like do you think it'd be important for us to try and get main gym again to kind of try and maintain our capacity members, or like what do you guys think could be potential problem/solutions with this issue?
So I feel like it's important for us to have a bigger space, especially with the social distancing in place. And I think a solution that we can do potentially is have that. Let's say that we have can have people sign up for our sessions, so we're not jam packed in that gym while maintaining that flow of people getting gameplays. And even though they might just get that 1 hour of play, but they're still able to play consistently, right? So that's does that make sense? Like, that's one of the solutions I think this could be in place.
Yeah, because I think that was like something a lot of us were kind of discussing too, because I know that people, like before, that there were a lot of like execs too that wanted to move to main gym for spacing wise, just because our club also always has like a lot of members and a lot of drop-ins as well, and it would just be, it would just be more beneficial for our club as a whole, especially now like transitioning to our club, I guess, having to pay a bit more in terms of admin fee potentially. It would be helpful too if it could help us generate more income and stuff. Because I feel like some of you guys have tried to advocate for that movement before into the main gym, and I know that has been turned down like quite frequently and quite consistently. So I don't even know if that's like an uphill battle to kind of trek or to try and redirect the solution somewhere else. You know what I mean?
I think that if it's a matter of just social distancing, we could still probably run with 5 gyms in education, just cut out courts 2 and 5. But one concern that I would personally have is every gym at the U of A gets stuffy. And I personally feel like ventilation probably isn't good enough to really facilitate sessions while we're still trying to like work around this environment right now. But that's just my perspective on it.
There's also the issue of sharing birdies, right? Because if everybody's touching them, that's a shared surface. Yes. Which, like, I know some of the rules that came out about tennis were like, yeah, you can go out and play, but supposed to touch the balls that you serve or something. Like, I don't know how well implemented that is. Like, if people are really paying attention to, like, whose ball is who. But like the birdies would be another issue. As well as card sanitization, like people touching each other's cards and whatnot.
So the potential future of the club looks maybe like wearing masks, gloves, and noodle hats, like in the swimming pool, like those.
Yes, noodle hat, please.
Singles games only.
Yeah,
that's singles only. Everybody has to be fit.
Yes, that will help everyone work on their cardio too. After 4 months of not really moving too much, it would be very beneficial. Yes.
So to answer your question directly, though, Shirley, like I'd say any argument you can use to advocate for a main gym, try it, because sometimes it's about persistence, and there's a lot of like I know U of A is going to go through restructuring coming up here, and there's always going to be turnovers on the admin side and on the campus rec side. So sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get a really great administrator or coordinator or whoever it is, and they'll advocate more for you. So if you happen to get one, that's really great. Like, you may as well push for it. And then there'll be some years where it'll switch to somebody else who doesn't want to, won't answer your emails, and there's a lot of pushback. And that's unfortunate, but there's something to be said for just kind of staying persistent and, I guess, playing the long game.
I would agree with Jane on that one, because a lot of some of the main changes that the club has made over the years, they haven't happened over one term. They've been a consistent effort over multiple terms in order to get them implemented, or implemented the way that we want them.
Yeah, like, don't you guys use QR codes or something now?
Oh yeah, that was something that Anika kind of brought in, because I think she was the one that originally developed that for the check-in system type of thing.
Yeah, because I remember Jesse had mentioned this, like, back, probably, it might have even been before I was president, but I remember him saying something about, like, why don't we barcode the back of all the, like, I remember we looked into, like, how much a barcoding machine was.
Yeah.
And it just kind of seemed like it wasn't feasible for the club at that time, but I'm glad you guys it evolved into something that ended up working for the club.
Yes, I think I was the one that kind of heard about that plan, and that never really we weren't able to put that in place. But then in my year, so with all the other execs, so it was a collective effort. So it was good. We made it happen. Right, Shirley? I think we did a pretty good job.
Yes.
I think we did okay.
I feel like I didn't do very much to help with that, but yes, I agree. The team as a collective.
Give yourself some credit.
Yeah, I think it also made it a lot easier too, with like the evolution of technology. Like Jane, you're talking about like doing barcodes and stuff like that. I think like as technology moves forward, and you're able to download just these apps to scan things and make life so much easier, it definitely helps that we have the technology that we do today to kind of navigate us through the things that people wanted to do before, but it didn't seem realistic to do then, but we could definitely do now.
Totally. Next step will be a digital check-in system.
Microchips. Everybody gets a microchip in their wrist.
And on their arm.
Yeah.
Or the eye scanners. Like you walk up to the door right before you get to the education gym, they scan your iris.
And it's gonna open the door.
Yeah.
Or an app to replace the card holder system.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then actually, in one of the schools I have since been in at since U of A, I joined their badminton club, and they essentially had the card system, but on a laptop. So it was a digital rotation system, but it didn't have. It was only on the one laptop, so it was really no better than having the board. It was sort of hovered over and run by a certain group of people, and people definitely got skipped and games got dropped, and there was some sketchy stuff that was happening. Oh, no. So I think it has some potential, but it needs to be I say what Logan said, everybody can access it by their phone or
or even if there's an electronic display of the cards, I think would be helpful, just because it has a bit of accountability to it, and it shows everyone what the sequences are in terms of games and the pairings and whatnot.
Oh yeah, totally. As long as everybody can see it and access it.
Yeah, a bit of a side tangent. Keep pushing for main gym. We'll get it eventually.
Yes, main gym.
Yes.
We need a hashtag for that.
Yeah.
And make it trend.
Hashtag get us main gym. Oh my gosh.
I have a question for Tim and Amy.
Oh, sure.
As past presidents.
Oh, yes.
Just on the topic of transitions. Did you guys find it hard to let go of the club in a sense? Once you step back from being an exec? I guess
I'll let Amy go first.
or Jesse too, because I guess he was on the exec team for so long.
You mean going from exec to member?
Yeah, and kind of seeing the changes that were happening, or seeing the way new things, new ways that the club was run, or.
Well, I left the year after I graduated, so I got updates about the club from Jesse, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Wish I did that," or whatever. So I kind of got a cooling down period, I guess. And coming back, there are occasional times where I'm like, "Oh, why did they do it that way?" But I have to remind myself, no, it's their club.
Just as GSO, I still want to call out line violations. Trying to hold back a bit more from that, especially after that one incident that's got someone upset with me during Tim's presidency.
Oh, don't worry about it, Jesse. You are just trying to make sure everyone's safe. That's okay. I totally understand. I guess that's a good segue into what I'm about to say, is that it's definitely hard to let go, for sure. But I try so hard to just keep myself away from the club. But it's good to know. It's good to know what's happening every now and then. So it's good that I'm still following the Facebook page, so I still get some sort of updates from them. But yeah, definitely, it's hard to let go, for sure.
What about for you, Jane? Because you were an exec for a little bit, quite a bit too.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit tough, because you're this is my baby. Yeah. Don't break my baby. But on this, on the flip side, it's really great, because I think the club has such a great community that it's a really safe place to be an exec and to develop those, it sounds really corny and cheesy, but develop those leadership skills. Yeah. And it's a place where you can make mistakes and make whoopsies and oversights, and I'd say it's a very forgiving community, and it's got such a great foundation that, you know, a little mistake here isn't going to send it spiraling down into chaos or whatever. Like, and so it is hard to kind of let it go and like let the new execs make the mistakes or try new things, like be brave and be adventurous. And but it's also really rewarding when things work or when you see people do grow and develop. And of course, I think there's such a legacy of strong execs and long-term community members that if there ever is an issue, I don't think it's ever been hard to get a hold of previous execs to say like, hey, like last time you talked about main gym with admin, like what did they say, right? Like you can reach out and kind of still be a contact point, which is satisfying too.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel that. And to add on to that point, that what you were saying about that safety too, I think even though if past execs do end up kind of leaving and they have that need to kind of, you know, let the new execs take over and to grow as well, I think that for myself, I've had a lot of gratitude and still have a lot of gratitude for still some like long-term members and some past exec members that are still around, like definitely Logan, Jesse, and Amy. Like you guys are always such a strong support system there too. And I think that even if you guys do feel like you don't want to intervene too much, I think it helps with the exec's sanity to have good supports there to kind of be like, you know, like you're not alone in terms of like your fears and your worries, and other people have gone through this before, and having people to kind of relate to and help almost kind of like guide you in a sense if you ever get kind of like confused or lost in terms of where you kind of want to help direct the club towards, is a really nice feeling to have too.
Yes, can I add on to that? Well, I just wanted to say for those of who are listening to this podcast, I would highly encourage you to, you know, look into joining the exec team, because out of the two roles I have been with the club as the vice president as well as the president, I've learned so much in not just teamwork and how the club runs, but also learning how to deal with conflicts. And yeah, you know, you might gain a friend or gain an enemy here and there, but it really you know, make your vision as what kind of leaders that you want to become in the future. It really helps you with that. So I would say for those of who are listening to this podcast, please go and reach out, and this is a great opportunity for you to learn.
I think so too. Thanks for doing that low-key advertising for us. And we are kind of running a little bit closer on time. So as a close, almost as a close, is there any kind of favorite memories that any of you guys have about the club that kind of stands out for you?
Ooh, can we just start with from the old to the new members again?
Sure.
Like what we've been doing.
Okay, Logan, pressure's on again.
Logan, yay.
Well, I mean, there's been so many great memories over the years. Like the overall aspect of it is that when I only started playing badminton in 2005, so I've been with the club for pretty much all of my badminton playing life. And it's just been such a great place to learn to play and to meet new friends and to socialize, and yeah, it's just a really great place to belong to.
Jesse and Amy, you can guys go one at a time. Favorite memory?
Well, for me, I don't think I have one particular one, but there's this one, like every semester at the end when we take the big group photo, I think it's just kind of a nice moment to see everyone come together for it. And the same thing for every semester end dinner. It's just when we're in that restaurant and you see like 70, 80 people there, if you just take the moment to stand up and look around, everyone's smiling, people are chatting. It's just this nice moment where you really get to reflect on the type of community that's been built within the club, even just outside of the context of badminton. Overall, just looking at where the club has gone and changed. So from just 2 hours every Friday, no events, to having 2 or 3 tournaments every semester, door prizes, extra social events, Facebook page, all of that. It's just really nice to see how it's grown and the type of community that's developed around it.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice sentiment. And anything for you, Amy?
I don't know if one of my favorite moments can be said on the podcast, so you can take this out if you need to.
We'll put an age rating on it, 25 plus.
I can send you the picture later, Shirley, but in one of our earlier years, one of the poles would not stay in the ground in the gym. And I think Logan remembers this.
I remember that.
I need to might know. So we couldn't get it to stay in the ground. And so we had to pile things onto like the bottom of the pole to keep it down. And it just kind of became a game of how much could we pile onto that pile. So we just like grabbed stuff from the gym storage and just kept putting it on.
Yeah, that was in the 2009 year. So that year was actually really notorious for Camp Direct getting back to us on maintenance. So for essentially that whole year, where we normally have court 3 now, that hole was stripped and it wouldn't hold the thread for the poles. So like Amy said, one of the things we'd have to bring out was these exercise bikes that were in the storage area. And we would wheel them over to try to get one of the legs to sit on the bottom of the pole just so it wouldn't tip over. But that same year, on a different court, I think it's where court 6 is now, the little wind-up system that's supposed to pull up the basketball nets was just completely broken. And I believe it was actually during a badminton night that the wire itself broke, and that whole basketball board just swung down super fast, super hard, and crashed down. And it stayed down for the rest of the semester because, well, it was broken.
Oh my god. That sounds so ghetto. How long did it take before they actually were able to replace it or repair it?
Fall 2010, I think. Like, basically the whole 2009 school year, at least one court was out of commission all the time.
That sounds... And did you still have, like, 130 members like we did, like, last year?
No, it was less people back then.
Yeah, I think we had 80 as the club capacity until MC bumped it to 100.
But if you want like something that can officially go on the podcast, it's not one specific memory, but just hanging out with, I guess, all the friends that we've made throughout the years, and just being able to see them join the club again year after year, and we're like kind of a really big family now.
That's cute. I like that. I feel like badminton definitely is like one of those sports that can really bring people together, even though it's not like really a team sport. I think it has like a really big social aspect to it.
Yes.
Tim?
Okay, so for me it was looking forward to every single Friday, because after an entire week of just diving your head into the books and just losing your sanity over midterms and final exams, I think it's a very good way to have something that you can look forward to every Friday. And one of those most memorable moments is when all the club members are trying to help getting the birdies off of basketball nets by throwing basketballs or throwing their shoe. Oh man, that's the best.
Getting their shoe stuck.
Yeah, getting their shoe stuck. I'm not gonna name any names, but you know who you are if you're listening. Those are the best moments.
Oh my gosh, you actually got your shoe stuck?
There was a member.
Yeah, a member.
Oh my
gosh. On the backboard, yeah.
Onto the backboard. So this member couldn't get his shoe until the next day.
Oh my gosh.
That was fun.
Such a selfless yet awful idea at the same time.
Yes.
Oh my god. So was it a badminton shoe or was it their outdoor shoe? I don't know which one would be worse.
The outdoor shoe.
Outdoor shoe.
Okay. I'm like, would I rather go home barefoot or not be able to play badminton? I really don't know. Like,
Go home barefoot, 100%.
Priorities. Hashtag priorities. That can be our new hashtag, priorities. Main gym priorities.
Yes, that's right.
I love that. I love that memory. And Jane, do you have one at all?
I'm gonna cheat. I have like a story that I kind of really like, and then just in general, I guess one of my favorite things about club is the tournament weekends. So like just like the kind of bustle of them, like I'm not a big morning person, but just having to get up early, get there, maybe grabbing Timmy's for the volunteers who are taping the lines, making sure all the prezes are organized. And I never organized a tournament. That was always up to the VPs, but just being around the bustle, meeting everybody. We've already talked about how diverse the badminton community is and how it's a great place to meet people and that social element. And especially if we had club after, when we did club on Sunday afternoons, so we'd usually wrap up this tournament Sunday morning, and then grabbing blankets from my car and curling up so I can take a nap between tournament and club sessions. But just the kind of energy of the tournament weekends I thought was always really great. And then I think my favorite episode or story was actually how I got involved as an exec. So there was one year where the exec team, I believe, was Peter Tran was president, Carrie Ma was VP, Jesse was GSO, and my boyfriend Savio was the treasurer. And that was it. That was the entire exec crew. It was only 4 people.
Oh my gosh.
And I had come into the gym a little bit earlier to meet up with Sav, and they were in the middle of an exec meeting. And so he kind of shooed me away, and I started walking out of the gym, and they were like, "Wait, Jane, get back here." So I was like, okay. So I walked over, and it turned out that Campus Rec said, "You guys need to have a girl on the exec team."
Oh.
I guess, to make sure, I don't know, if somebody got sick in the bathroom or something, there was a girl that could go in. I don't know. And so they're like, "Hey, do you want to be an exec?" And I was like, "Sure." And so when club met that day, they made an announcement, and they're like, "So Campus Rec says we need to have a girl on the exec team. Jane said that she'll do it. Does anybody not want this to happen?" like everybody sitting around. It's like, okay, put up your hand if this is okay. And so then, some people put up their hands. And it's like, okay. And that's how I became an exec, which is, I think it was maybe November or something. It was later in the fall term. But that was the kind of the strange start to my reign of terror, as I like to refer back to it. But yeah, I didn't know at that point what it would develop into and how big a role the community would play in my life. But you never know, right? Yeah. These things kind of just start that way.
Definitely. So what was your starting role as? So what did they put you in when they first got you participating?
It was technically events coordinator. So I was supposed to do the dinners. Okay. But I ended up being the only one who really answered emails. So, yeah, it was sort of a mixed job. That's why if you go back through old old versions of the Constitution, it's events coordinator / PR. Because it was really just Jane was turned into the events coordinator, and then the PR thing just came out of me answering emails, and then it eventually, I think, got separated out into what they were supposed to be.
Okay. I feel like low-key in there, you're also secretary too. That's what it seems like.
Oh yeah, we didn't have a secretary either. Yeah, it was.
So you were all of them.
A strange year.
That's crazy. That's crazy to know. It went from 4 to now we have 8. I think 8 or 9 with an exec assistant.
We started off with 3.
3.
Yeah, they're.
And sorry, it was a smaller club back then, so we didn't really need elections.
Okay. That sounds so sketchy.
Only one person who wanted the position, and everybody else, nobody else opposed it, so then we just got in.
Oh. So you're pretty much went up to people and you're like, okay, who doesn't want this to happen? In a very kind of not threatening voice, but threatening voice at the same time.
Well, back then, I remember the day of, when I first joined, the day that I was elected to be vice president, they were like, does anybody not want Amy to be? And somebody had spoken up and asked, who's Amy?
Oh, no. And then you stared them down, right? And then they said, okay, I don't oppose.
I do want to mention that I believe it was Jane that kind of started the structure that we see now for the exec team. Because, like she said, going into it, it was a meeting of just 4 people, and prior to that, it was just 3. We didn't have a GSO for a while. It was just the treasurer, the president, and the vice president. And when Jane started her presidency, she was the one that pushed for a larger exec just to kind of make sure that the responsibilities could have someone that could give their full attention to it. And I remember that I made the comment that this was the smoothest I'd ever seen the club run. And she said that her reply was just that this is how an exec should be. And that was the same year that what was the trophy that they gave you that year, Jane?
Was it Most Improved Club or Club of the Year?
Most Improved Club of the Year.
Yeah.
So good.
Made it from like the chaos of just somebody take care of it and the team to, okay, this is your job, this is your job, this is your job.
We also formalized election because I remember there was almost this weird transition where we weren't going to have an election. We were just going to say, hey, is everybody okay with that, with this exec continuing the way it is? And it just like, a little part of my heart like died, and I was like, but there's a constitution for a reason.
That's so great that you did that. And for anyone who's listening to this podcast, whether you're a current student, returning student, or a new incoming student, that next person and exec could be you. So definitely open to joining. But any other lasting remarks from anyone about becoming an exec or becoming even trying to come out and try to be a coach from your perspective, Logan, just because we did bring on coaching as well. So, yes.
Just join.
Just join.
Go do it.
That is
join as a member, join as an exec, join as a coach, doesn't matter. Become part of the family.
Yes, be outgoing.
If you have an idea, bring it to the exec. Because the one that said that to me was Kai. He really wanted to see if he could get something regarding stringing going with the club. It never really took off, but it's definitely a great idea. And there's nothing wrong with just trying it out for a semester either. So if it doesn't even fit into the current exec model, if you feel that there's a change that could be made for the club, just go for it.
I like that. All right. Well, thank you guys. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. And I would like to thank all of our guests again for making time to appear on our podcast and for providing so much insight and fun on today's podcast. And I would also like to thank all of our listeners out there for tuning in. We will be continuing to release our new podcast on either Fridays or Saturdays so that you can make us part of your weekend routine. And you can catch our release through Facebook or Instagram. Until then, that's the tea.